done report. I only wish Bill Barr used it, which he chose not to, but it was an incredible report. Michael Horowitz wrote the definitive report on James Comey and the FBI and really got that going, and I understand that this wasn't really, I don't know that, but some people thought that some were unfair or some were not doing the job, and it's a very standard thing to do, very much like the U.S. attorneys.
Do you plan to bring your own people in those positions, Mr. President?
Which people?
In the Inspectors General
not my
role?
People. They're not my people. I don't know anybody that would do that, but we'll put people in there that will be very good.
Mr. President, there's reports that Elon Musk now must go through Susie Wiles and that he doesn't have an office in the West Wing. I'm curious how you feel about that.
It's not Elon's office. We have an office that's set up for purposes of when I do an executive order, that the order is carried out, not that it sits around for 3 months. And we'll have about 20 people, maybe more, working out of that office. It's really an office for a lot of people that go and make sure that the executive office, when I do an executive document, very important executive, I want to make sure that that is done. And there's about 20 or 25 people that will be working out of that office. And it's really a go-get-em office to make sure it gets done. That's what that is.
So you're a week in now to your presidency. How does it compare to your first week in 2017? Did you learn any lessons, or are you trying to do something differently?
I come in now with great knowledge and experience. And you could say that no president has ever had this kind of experience, that's for sure. Whereas before, I had never done it before, but we did well. We had a great presidency, but this one could be really outstanding. I think you're seeing the same reports that I see, and you write the reports. Most of you are writing the important reports. We're getting A+s on the work done, and also the amount of work done. I mean, nobody else has done this. You go to North Carolina, then you go to Los Angeles, and then you stop on the way home. And that was no tax on tips, but it was really a stop to thank the people of Nevada for having been, it's a very hard state to win as a Republican, and we won it very conclusively. So it was really more of a thank you to the people of Nevada. So I stopped there, and I have a lot of meetings once I get to Miami. But no, I think we had. People are saying it was the most successful first week that anybody can remember a president.
Mr. President, you were so nice to Governor Newsom yesterday. No, Governor Newscum. What was that all about?
I decided to be nice. It was nice that he came to the plane, honestly. I didn't know he'd be at the plane. It was nice that he came to the plane. And in the end, we have the same goal. We want to take that catastrophe and make it as good as possible. We disagree on some things. I guess he's not so set on water. I like water for putting out fires. I find it to be extremely good, very little old-fashioned, but about the best thing that God has ever created for putting out fires. And so we're going to be doing something on that. But no, I got along. I actually always got along with him well until fairly recently.
Can I ask about the First Lady?
And I very much predicted that was going to happen. Because if you go back like 6 years, I said, if you don't start getting this place taken care of and mitigating some of the problems that are here, you're going to end up with a fire like you've never seen. I turned out to be right.
If I could ask you about the First Lady, she seems to be taking a more public-facing role. I just wonder how you envision her spending the next 4 years.
Well, I think she was always very much involved. You didn't see her more behind the scenes, but she was always a front-of-the-scenes person. And I think she really she felt badly about North Carolina. She felt very badly about California, Los Angeles. Got a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends in North Carolina, and both, and she has a lot of friends in California. So she wanted to be with me for that.
Mr. President, is your preference for Larry Ellison to work to obtain TikTok, or do you have any preference on how this deal is?
I haven't spoken. Larry's a friend of mine. Lives in, near Mar-a-Lago, right down the road. I never spoke to Larry about TikTok. I've spoken to many people about TikTok, and there's great interest in TikTok. And as you know, I have the right to sell it or close it, depending on what I think is best for the country. So we'll make a decision over the next 90 days
a report, Mr. President, that says that you are putting together a deal with Oracle and outside investors to help them buy TikTok and save TikTok. Is that happening?
No, not with Oracle. With numerous people are talking to me, very substantial people, about buying it, and I'd make that decision probably over the next 30 days. I have 90 days. Congress has given 90 days, and we'll see. If we could save TikTok, I think would be a good thing. So we'll make a decision. We have a lot of interest in it, and the United States will be a big beneficiary if we do it. I'd only do it if the United States benefits.
Mr. President.
I mean, I have a warm spot in my heart for TikTok because I went on TikTok and I ended up winning by a lot, young people. And as you know, Republicans historically, I don't think ever won young people, and I won them by a lot. So I do have a little bit of a warm spot, but you know, it's a very popular site, and the kids are loving it, and some of the parents are loving it. And if we can save it, I think that would be a very good thing. And I think it would be economically good for America.
Mr. President, could I ask you about Ukraine? Do you have any update on when you are going to talk to Russian President Putin?
He wants to speak, and we'll be speaking soon. And I've spoken to President Zelensky numerous times, and they'd like to see peace. They would like to see an end to the war, and I think President Putin would like to see an end to the war too. So we'll see if we can help it along. I think it's a shame. It's a war that would have never happened if I were president. It's a shame.
We've seen a lot of people being fired from the federal government. What's the sort of criterion you're using for this? Is it loyalty to you? And can we expect more of these purges?
No, you have to show up to work. Basically, you have to show up to work. You have to go to your office and you have to work, and otherwise you're not going to have a job.
Do you worry that that limits the pool of talent?
No, I think the talent is deep. We have very deep talent, but we also have a lot of excess people. You know, this was just a gimmick for Democrats to a certain extent, but we have a lot of excess people. But the talent is very deep.
Now that you've done your first domestic trip, have you given any thought to where you want to go for your first international trip?
Well, it could be Saudi Arabia, it could be UK. Traditionally, it's been UK. Last time I went to Saudi Arabia because they agreed to buy $450 billion worth of United States merchandise, including a lot of military equipment and farm equipment and other equipment. And if that offer were right, I'd do that again.
If you go to the UK, do you think you'll get along with Keir Starmer and the Labour government?
I do. I mean, I've met him already 3 times. He's come over to see me twice. I have a call. He and I have a call over the next 24 hours. No, I get along with him well. I like him a lot. He's liberal, which is a little bit different for me. But I think he's a very good person. I think he's done a very good job thus far. He's very new at the job, but he's represented his country in terms of his philosophy. I may not agree with his philosophy, but I have a very good relationship with him. I've seen him twice. Had dinner with him in Trump Tower, as you probably know.
On Saudi, Mr. President, you spoke to the Crown Prince. Did you discuss a normalization deal between Israel and Saudi?
I discussed getting oil prices down. Because if you get oil prices down, Russia will stop the war. And Biden should have never allowed them to go up so high. When Biden let them go up to that level, he was just inducing Russia, which sells oil, to go into a war. So he should have never allowed. The Democrats, namely Biden, allowed oil prices to go up. That's one of the reasons that you have the Ukraine catastrophe.
How do you bring it down? How do you bring the prices down?
Volume.
So you're talking about increasing production.
Drill, baby, drill. Yeah.
Can you tell us about your call with the King of Jordan today, please?
It was a very good call. He's a friend of mine. I know him very well. I've gotten along with him over the years very well, and he's done a wonderful job. He really houses, you know, millions of Palestinians, and he does it in a very humane way. And I compliment him on that. But Jordan's done an amazing job of housing largely Palestinians, and he's done it in a very successful way.
So what was the subject of discussion? Was it
pretty much that? I said to him, I'd love you to take on more, because I'm looking at the whole Gaza Strip right now, and it's a mess. It's a real mess.
So you'd like Jordan to house people from
I'd like
Gaza?
him to take people. I'd like Egypt to take people. I'm meeting with, I'm talking to General many conflicts at site. And I don't know, it's something has to happen, but it's literally a demolition site right now. Almost everything's demolished, and people are dying there. So I'd rather get involved with some of the Arab nations and build housing at a different location where they can maybe live in peace for a change.
Temporarily, or would they
Could be either. Could be temporarily. Could be long term.
Go ahead.
You've spoken about artificial intelligence quite a bit this week. Do you have any concerns about the risks to humanity about artificial superintelligence?
Well, look, artificial intelligence is where all of the smart countries want to be going. Great for coming up with cures to disease, great with coming up with everything. But there are also always risks. And it's the first question I ask, how do you absolve yourself from mistake, etc.? Because it could be the rabbit that gets away. We're not going to let that happen. But it's going to be the biggest field, maybe the biggest field in the world, and we're going to be equipped to take it. And we're already leading. We're going to be leading very shortly. We're going to be leading by a lot. What they do need is tremendous energy. They need electricity at levels that nobody's ever seen before. And we'll be able to supply that electric.
The Pentagon,
I'll be using emergency power to give that electric.
The Pentagon, Mr. President, just lifted a hold on 2,000-pound bombs for Israel, which was blocked by Biden. Do you have a comment on that, sir?
On the what?
On the 2,000-pound bombs that Biden had put a hold on.
We released them.
Yeah.
We released them today, and they'll have them, and they paid for them, and they've been waiting for them for a long time. They've been in storage for a long time, but we released them today to Israel.
Why did you do that, sir?
Because they bought them.
Okay.
There are reports, Mr. President, that you spoke to the Danish Prime Minister and she told you Greenland is not for sale. Will you take no for an answer on that?
Yeah. Who are you with?
CNN. Your favorite.
No, they're terrible. Honestly, that's why they're going out of business. It's terrible. Or they'll be bought cheap. Maybe some rich guy will buy them cheap. But it's just the tone of your question every time. I think Greenland will be worked out with us. I think we're going to have it. And I think the people want to be with us. As you know, there's 55,000 people there. They want to be with us. I don't know really what claim Denmark has to it, but it would be a very unfriendly act if they didn't allow that to happen, because that's for protection of the free world. It's not for us, it's for the free world. Right now you have Russian ships, you have China ships, you have ships from various countries. It's not a good situation. And I believe we'll get that. Yeah, I do believe. I think we'll get other things too that you're talking about that nobody knows. But I think we'll get other things. But I do believe Greenland will get, because it really has to do with freedom of the world, not just freedom of. It has nothing to do with the United States, other than we're the one that can provide the freedom. They can't. They can't. I mean, they put 2 dog sleds there 2 weeks ago. They thought that was protection.
Are the other things Canada and
you know
Panama?
what the people don't like? The people don't like the way they've been treated by Denmark. They don't like the way they've been treated by Denmark. And they do like us.
Mr. President, on the Senate confirmations, Vice President J.D. Vance had to come and cast the tie-breaking vote. I'm curious if you're concerned at all about any of the other nominees.
No. Whatever it is, I think they're doing well. I think we just had a big win today, as you know. Kristi Noem, I think, will be outstanding at Homeland. And we have some other ones going, and I don't see any major problems.
So the U.S. has suspended most foreign aid, including PEPFAR, which is a program that's credited with saving millions of lives in Africa. Is there a timeline for opening up U.S. aid? Is there a review
We'll see
process?
about that, but we want other people to join us, because we're like a one-way street. So we want other people to help us, and we want other people to join us. We're spending billions and billions and billions of dollars, and other countries that are wealthy are spending zero. And we want them to help. Why should we be the only one? So they understand that. They've been told that. It's a little like NATO. I mean, we're almost paying for all of NATO, and yet they were taking advantage of us on trade, similar countries, the same and similar countries. And after I got involved, they were paying a lot of money on that. The Secretary General was very generous in his statements about me with respect to that. So we'll see, I think NATO should be more too. Though. I think it should be more than the 2. It should be 5.
The CIA, Mr. President, prefers the lab leak theory to explain COVID's origins. Now, I was curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, you have a good man there, a very good man, and John has just got approved, as you know. John Ratcliffe also got approved, and I'd rather have you ask him that question. He knows everything about it.
Go back to Greenland.
Have you given any thought to the future of the airbase at Diego Garcia, which is, is part of the Chagos Islands, which Britain is returning to the Mauritius Islands? There are concerns that could open it up to spying by Iran or China. Do you have?
It hasn't been number 1 on my list, I'll be honest. That was not number 1.
During your campaign, you didn't talk about Canada, about the Panama Canal. You mentioned today expansion.
Canada's been treating us very unfairly on trade, and they've taken advantage of us for years, and we're not going to allow that to happen. I love Canada. I have so many friends up in Canada, and they like us, and they like me. But Canada's been taking advantage of the United States for years, and we're not going to let that happen. And without our subsidy, Canada, doesn't exist really. Canada's totally reliant on us. Therefore, they should be a state. Canada, we lose $250 billion a year in Canada. I could stop that in 1 day, and if I stopped that, Canada wouldn't exist as a state, as a country. And I think if we're going to have to give that kind of subsidy, and we're not even talking about tariffs yet, but that'll happen on February 1st. But if we're going to lose $250 billion for the sake of supporting a country, it's not fair to us. And they do about almost 90% of their business with the United States, whereas with us it's the opposite. It's relatively small. So I don't want to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on supporting a country unless that country is a state. And if it is a state, the people of Canada would pay a much lower tax. Their taxes would be cut in half. They would have no military problems. They'd be much more secure in every way. And I think it's a great thing for Canada. And I view it as, honestly, a country that should be a state. And they'll get much better treatment, much better care, and much lower taxes. And they'll be much more secure. Thank you very much, Harry.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you for coming back. Thank you.